Rain hammered against the windows of the small roadside diner like angry fists, streaking the glass with silver tears. Inside, a frail girl named Lily sat in the corner booth, her crutches leaning beside her like silent witnesses. Her left leg was wrapped in metal braces, her hands trembling slightly as she stirred her lukewarm coffee. The diner smelled of burnt toast and old dreams, a place where truckers came to forget and drifters came to remember. But for Lily, it was a brief refuge from a world that seemed to have no place for her. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Kindness. Your small action helps spread big hearts. Lily had been coming to this diner every evening for weeks. It wasn't because she loved the food, the fries were soggy and the pie was stale, but because it was one of the few places that didn't make her feel invisible. The waitress, Mary, always smiled at her. "Hot chocolate again, sweetheart?" she'd say, sliding a steaming mug toward her. Lily's heart warmed in those moments, not from the drink, but from being seen. But tonight felt different. The storm outside was fierce, and only a handful of customers occupied the diner. 3 young men sat at the counter, loud and laughing. Their laughter sharp, cruel, the kind that made the air feel unsafe. They were regulars, too, boys with tattoos, piercings, and too much arrogance for their age. They'd noticed Lily before. They always did. As Lily reached for the napkin dispenser, one of them, a tall boy with a leather jacket, nudged his friend and pointed. "Hey, look, Robolegs is back," he snickered. The others laughed. Lily froze, her eyes dropping to her lap. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the cracked vinyl seat. They walked over. The clatter of their boots on the tiled floor echoed louder than the storm outside. "You come here every night, huh? You waiting for your Prince Charming to roll in on a wheelchair too?" One sneered. The diner went quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to stop mid-song. Mary stepped forward, her voice trembling but firm. "Leave her alone, boys, she's just—" Before she could finish, the boy closest to Lily leaned in, pretending to whisper something, then suddenly slapped the mug from her hands. The hot chocolate spilled across the table, splattering her clothes and braces. The boy laughed. "Oops. Guess your hand's broken too." Then, without warning, he struck her across the face. The sound cracked through the diner like thunder. Lily gasped, not from the pain but from the shock, the disbelief that someone could hit her just for existing. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring her vision. Mary shouted, "That's enough, get out!" But the boys just laughed, tossing a few coins on the counter. "Relax, old lady," one said, "we were just having fun." When they left, Lily sat trembling, her cheek red and wet with tears. Mary rushed to her side, wrapping her arms around her. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry," she whispered. But Lily shook her head. "It's okay," she murmured. "It's always like this." She said it so softly that it broke Mary's heart. Outside, the storm raged on. Lily gathered her crutches, paid for her coffee, even though it was still half full, and limped out into the rain. The sound of her crutches, tapping against the wet pavement, faded into the darkness. Mary stood behind the counter, tears in her eyes, wishing she could do more. But then something strange happened. An hour later, as the diner's lights flickered against the storm, the front door swung open. The air changed. 6 men walked in, tall, broad, wearing black leather jackets embroidered with the logo of a motorcycle club. Their boots were heavy, their expressions unreadable, and the sound of rain dripping off their helmets echoed in the silence. The leader, a rugged man with silver in his beard and eyes that carried 1,000 stories, stepped forward and said in a deep, gravelly voice, "Coffee. Black. For all of us." Mary, her hands still shaking, nodded and poured their drinks. The men sat quietly, the storm outside howling like a wounded animal. But then, one of them noticed something. "What happened here?" he asked, pointing to the broken mug on the floor, the faint smear of cocoa across the tiles. Mary hesitated, unsure if she should tell them. "It was nothing," she said softly. But the man with the silver beard, his name was Jack, leaned forward. "Nothing doesn't break mugs, ma'am." So she told them everything, about Lily, about the boys, about the slap that echoed louder than thunder. The bikers didn't speak for a long moment. Their silence felt heavy, deliberate, like a storm gathering strength before striking. Then Jack stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "You said she comes here often?" Mary nodded. "Every evening, except tonight. I don't think she'll come back after this." Jack exchanged looks with his crew. "Where does she live?" Mary hesitated again. "Out past Miller's Road, near the trailer park." "Why?" Jack didn't answer. He just pulled on his gloves, nodded to his men, and said one word: ride. Outside, their motorcycles roared to life, cutting through the storm like lightning. Hours passed. The rain stopped, and the diner returned to its usual quiet. Mary cleaned the counter, still haunted by the look in Lily's eyes. She was wiping down the tables when she heard the sound of engines returning. The door swung open again, and there they were, Jack and his crew, and behind them, Lily. Her hair was still damp, her eyes wide with disbelief. Mary gasped, covering her mouth. "Sweetheart," she whispered. Lily looked around, confused. Jack placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "These men wanted to meet you," he said softly. Lily looked up at him, unsure. "Why?" Jack smiled, though his eyes carried a quiet fire. "Because someone hurt you, and no one gets to do that, not on our watch." The bikers took off their jackets, revealing patches that read, "Brothers of Mercy." They weren't a gang. They were veterans. Men who'd seen war, who'd lost everything, and rebuilt their purpose by helping others who'd been hurt, forgotten, or cast aside. Jack explained, "Mary told us what happened, and we thought maybe you could use a few friends who know what it feels like to be kicked when you're already down." Lily's lip trembled. She wasn't used to kindness that came without pity. "Why would you help me?" she asked softly. Jack smiled gently. "Because once someone helped me, and I promised I'd pass it on." From that night on, the diner changed. Every evening the bikers would stop by, not to intimidate, but to protect. They filled the diner with laughter, warmth, and stories that made even the coldest nights feel alive. Lily would sit with them, her braces shining faintly in the light, listening to their tales of hope and redemption. One night, Jack rolled a small box across the table toward her. Inside was a tiny silver charm shaped like wings. "For you," he said, "so you remember, no matter how broken you feel, you still have wings. You just have to find the right wind." Lily couldn't hold back her tears. For the first time in years, she felt safe. She felt like she belonged. Weeks passed, and word about what happened spread through town. The boys who had hurt Lily stopped coming to the diner. In fact, they avoided the whole area, because everyone knew now kindness had protectors. But something even more beautiful happened. Inspired by the bikers, Lily started a small group at the local community center for kids with disabilities, a safe place where they could share, laugh, and find strength together. Jack and his crew helped fund it, painting the walls and building ramps. They named it Wings Cafe. On the day it opened, the same diner that once echoed with cruelty now rang with laughter and music. People from all over came to see Lily's dream take flight. She stood by the door, handing out cocoa and smiles. When a little boy in a wheelchair looked up at her and said, "I wish I could be like you," Lily knelt down, her eyes shining. "You already are," she whispered. "You just don't know it yet." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack and his bikers sat outside watching her. "You did good, kid," Jack murmured to himself. Lily turned toward them, her silver wing charm catching the light, and smiled. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running from the world. She was part of it. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness, because stories like Lily's remind us that compassion still exists, and that standing up for others can change lives. Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in that diner that night? Tell us in the comments. Your words might inspire someone else to act with courage and kindness.